travel agent. It was a dry agent. When we were doing it, it was funny. He said, my biggest heartbreak was, I said, I'll go. And Bill goes, yeah, send Bishop, and I was heartbroken. My friend. Yes, you go.
You're just a fucking piece of fucking steel.
No, buddy. I was a toaster.
Don't give me a fucking bagel, man.
In case you missed it, Lance tied Michael's shoe a few minutes ago, too. In keeping with the tradition.
That's a tradition. If I see Michael with a loose shoe, I tie it.
Get him a go.
I know my business.
Let's open it to the audience. Who's got some questions?
Yeah, water. Yeah.
I'm thirsty.
Right here.
I have two questions, one for Michael and one for Lance. Lance, in I don't know if it's ever written or filmed, but in one version of the script where you're like crawling through the pipe, you run into an alien. Was that ever shot? And if that was, how do you like react to the alien? And did you just keep like crawling past him, or?
I didn't have any problem with the aliens because they didn't even notice me
Okay, so
because I was synthetic and there was no. I mean, they're not a visual thing. They smell it, they taste it, they want it, you know. But me, that'd be like stepping over a fire hydrant. But did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
I did crawl through the pipe.
Your other question?
Oh, my other question for Michael is if you saw the same script for Alien 3, how would you, like on the same planet in the prison, how do you envision like Hicks for that movie? Do you envision him like leading the
Fuck
prisoner?
Aliens 3.
I was just wondering about the script. Was there anything extraneous that you shot that you cut that wasn't in the special edition later?
Most of my role. I'm kidding. No, I don't pay that much attention.
I'd say one thing. There was a scene that was never shot, but it was in the script, and it was where we were supposed to, when we get out of the hypersleep thing, capsules, we're all supposed to go straight from there into a unisex shower where we take showers with, no clothes. And that one never happened. No, we didn't shoot it. We kind of, I think they kind of sprung it on the girls at the last minute, and the girls was like, I don't know about this, so they just scrapped it.
Oh, I thought they shot that.
It was supposed to be like in the future, you do what you gotta do. Men and women take showers together. We're all Marines. But
Yeah, right.
Like, yeah. But I got dressed, that ain't happening.
I have man tits. They don't.
Another question. Way in the back.
This is for Jeanette. First of all, just Ripley and Vasquez, hopefully you've heard this from other women who were growing up and seeing this at the time, that you guys were just awesome role models and you just kicked so much ass in this, so thank you. Since you said you've never been in a film or TV show, first of all, how did you find them, or did they find you? And second of all, were you working out already, or how long did it take you to get in that amazing shape?
I was already working out. I'd already been working out for a couple of years anyway, so no. So, because I was living in London and I was sort of a frustrated, unemployed actress, and so I went to a gym and I started working out. So I was in that shape when they found me, and how they found me was they had advertised in the local acting paper, because the same thing, they had to search through all the British Equity members who were American citizens first to sort of satisfy the law of the union bringing over. So they had to see all the Americans there. So I saw an ad for Americans who had a British equity card, so did you guys, right? And it was for a movie called Aliens, and I had seen the original one, like, whatever, 8 years before or more than that, and I thought for a millisecond that it was gonna be the second part, but not really, because in England, when you have your green card, you're called a resident alien. Yeah, and that's what you're called. You're called a resident alien. So I kind of thought, oh, they're doing a film about Americans who live in.
She signed up. That's the last
She never worked on a movie before.
No, I did, because I mean, most Americans there had married. You have to marry someone because I thought it was about kind of the underground Americans living there. So I went to the audition. I didn't have an agent, so I had no idea. So I dressed up really nice in my hair, and I had makeup on, and completely inappropriate. The only thing was that it was really hot, kind of unseasonably hot, and I was wearing a sleeveless like blouse or something and a skirt. And so I went into the office, and Gail was there, and there was a big picture of Terminator. And I had just seen it, and I was like, oh, cool movie. And she said, oh yeah, that's ours. And I was like, what? Yeah, we made that. And I was like, oh, wow. And then, do you know what this movie's about? I said, oh, no, can you tell me? She said, well, it's about, you saw Aliens, it's about a bunch of Marines that go back. And I was like, oh my God, I'm completely. And she said, there's Marines. And I said, oh, well, I'm kind of, strong. And I kind of, like that. And she said, oh, you work out. So after the interview, she said, well, could you come back and, dress a little more appropriately for the role? And, read the script and then come back and read. And long story short, I wasn't reading for Vasquez because they kind of already, I don't know if they'd already cast her or they were going to cast her in the US or something, but they gave me her lines to read because the part that I was reading for didn't have many lines. I think it was either the pilot or the med tech or something. So I read for Vasquez, and I don't know, how can you read a scene and not read as the character? I mean, and so I read as the character, and then they sort of kind of reworked it and kind of thought about it, and then got Vasquez. So that's how I got the.
The way after they ask you to go like this.
She had to pull up.
And adding, piggytailing onto that, what she said, Jeanette, Mark, and myself were living in England at the time. And so we got cast under British equity. And so we never received a penny from this movie since we first shot it. Not one penny. What makes this movie for us is you guys. Because you guys keep this movie alive after 25 years, and we don't receive a check every month, but we do receive, fan mail from you guys.
They buy us dinner a lot.
We receive fan mail from you guys, we receive a lot of love, and that's what makes the movie kind of special and live on for us. So thank you.
Passing a basket.
Just for the British equity actors. Now, Jeanette, you mentioned Alien, and I wonder, when you're making this film, was Ridley Scott's Alien ever looming over you, or Jim, or Gail, or at a certain point you just have to divorce yourself from that and just make this movie?
Well, I mean, I love that movie. I remember going to see it, but I mean, it was a completely different movie. I mean, in my mind, that as far as genres, that was the haunted house, movie, and this was the war film. So genre-wise, completely different. So no. And also, it was funny because had you worked on Revolution? Yeah, a bunch of the guys had just kind of not come off Revolution. It was like the big hype, oh, it's gonna be amazing, and it just had tanked, and so everybody was kind of cynical. It was like,
Diabolical.
But it was like, it doesn't matter what the first one was or who the director, who the star is. You make it and then you just throw it out there, and who knows what happens.
Well, there's another issue. When Ridley Scott's a British guy, and he made Aliens, and it was a wonderful, great, powerful movie. The first horror science fiction movie I ever saw. But then when we got to England, we're going to make Aliens. And Jim had a little beard, and they were calling him Grizzly Adams. What right do you have to come here and try to top Ridley Scott? Oh my God. So they were kind of snobbing us a little bit. And I mean, I'll never forget, they said, huh? Yeah, I don't know. But they would say like, bring in the artistes. And I said, what are you, a wise guy? That's what they call actors over there. I mean, I didn't know that. They were snobbing us. And then it kind of started out edgy like that. And then we started cutting loose. And you guys had that attitude, I didn't know that. Never mind. No, it was great to be.
We took you around town, because we lived there.
Yeah, you did. You showed me everywhere.
No, it was great.
Marlon Brando had just been there making Superman. And I heard the story where he didn't want to come out of his trailer because it was drizzling. So they built a plywood tunnel. Like half a mile to the south. And I thought, why are they doing that for us?
It was shot out in Pinewood, which was outside of London, but we all lived in London, and we had our families and and it was great. So they would always come in and stay with us, and we'd show them around, and so it was a lot less lonely for them just hanging out in their hotel, drinking.
Michael, can you talk about when you first met Jim for Terminator? What your impressions were initially?
Yeah, I went in and read for him and Gail at Gail's house for the Terminator, and yeah, that's the story I've just been written about a lot. I had been up for Cat on a Hushed Roof that was on stage down in Los Angeles. Jose Quintero was kind of a famous theater director, and all morning long he was working, and then I left that audition, went to Jim's auditioned for the Terminator, and they called my agent and said, oh, we really like him, but we can't have anybody regional. Like, what do you mean, an accent? He said, well, he doesn't have an accent. And then kind of, he was Cat on a Hudson Roof, was probably a carryover. So I went back in and read for him again, and I read with a few actresses. Rosanna Arquette was one of them, who I just did a movie with. It's coming out in January. It's just awesome. It's called The Divide, man. It's just some great performances in it. Not mine, but.
No, whatever.
What was the question?
Just what your impressions of Jim were. I mean, he had done
He was
one film before that.
He was like a kid. Always to me, for Jim, doing the Terminator, and he was like a kid in a candy store. He just seemed like he was having fun. Him and Gail were just having fun. I mean, I was with them, before they were together. I was with them when they were married, and I was with them when they were divorced. So, but he just seemed to me like he was like a kid, and he loved guns, and he loved to, show me how to hotwire a car, and take me someplace to work out, teach me karate, and show me all his drawings. And Jim was very inclusive as far as his actors, and you get these used to be, actors, they shouldn't really watch dailies, because if they watch the dailies, then they'll get insecure and they'll change their performance. What the fuck are you talking about? It's the fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Maybe you see something you don't like, you change it. But Jim was always like, come in, watch, I got something cut here. I got a tech noir cut. Come in, watch daily. How come you weren't at dailies last night? And I'm like, sorry, Jim, So he was like a kid in the candy store, fun. He's a brilliant man. I mean, when you said, almost a genius or something like that, I mean, he's a fucking genius. Funny in my book. And, I'd take him, I just did a movie, and I said, Robert Rodriguez inspired it. It was kind of a grindhouse kind of movie. The one I was talking about that I directed it, and I said, I gave I said in the end credits, thanks Robert Rodriguez, wrote without a crew. It's a long story, but it's in the movie. But I was inspired by Robert Rodriguez to do that movie, but I'd take a bullet for Jim Cameron. And I mean that. I'd take a fucking bullet for him.